Hello everyone and welcome to Memory Flow, where we discuss fragrance and fragrance collecting. I am in a rosy mood today, even though it's winter. However, I do feel that winter is very appropriate for rose fragrances, especially some of the ones we will talk about today. So, rose fragrances. I wanted to do this because I recently found a bottle of Rose Barbare in the old design of the bottle. And with the addition of Rose Cherie in the new Latte Matière line, I wanted to give you a quick guide into the rose of Guerlain. So just a quick note, rose in perfumery is kind of trivialized. There are so many rose fragrances out there. Some are good, some are mediocre, but alas, most people find rose scents to be of the past, as rose indeed has that dusty vintage feel, and mostly because rose is a readily available ingredient. There are many cheap synthetics and so on. However, rose indeed is the queen of flowers. Its use in perfumery is quite varied, and it can offer so much just from being in a supportive role, but today we are focusing on big roses, fragrances where rose is center stage. Another thing to consider is the difference between the smell of the actual fragrance oil and what you smell in perfumes. It really depends on the intention of the perfumer, but when you work on a rose scent, you kind of have to rebuild the rose as it would smell as a flower, because it is quite different from the smell of the essential oil or the actual material that you work with. So I have here a rose oil concentrate of Bulgarian rose. I should have opened this in advance. This is quite ethnic. This is Bulgarian rose, which happens to be, coincidentally, the favorite rose of Guerlain. But they don't use only Bulgarian rose, as we will see. They also use Rose de Mai, which is Rosa centifolia, and Turkish rose or Ottoman rose. So the smell of this essential oil, which I will apply just a tiny bit because I love it so much, is very different from what you smell in most fragrances. You can totally wear this as a fragrance. Just be careful what you apply on the skin. When it comes to essential oils, not all of them can be applied on the skin, so do research thoroughly what you buy. So this smell, this rose oil concentrate, is it's very dark, it's fruity, it's sweet, it's jammy, it's very spicy, it's very velvety, but yeah, the idea is that it's very different from most rose fragrances out there. So when it comes to Guerlain, the rose is part of the Guerlainade, so most of their fragrances will have a bit of a rose touch, but the fragrances I will mention today will be all about the rose. So, oh god, this is so beautiful. If you haven't smelled this type of rose oil before, maybe you should give it a try. I don't know how readily available Bulgarian rose oil is to you, but you can try to find some. So the first fragrance I will talk to you today will be the actual reason for this video, and will be Rose Barbare. This came out in 2005. It was worked on by Francis Kurkdjian. This is a weird scent when it comes to rose, as it's not the rose per se which keeps me interested in this fragrance. It's actually the sweet green honey that is just so delicious. It's a rose patchouli, which makes it deep and dark and also spicy. It's a very abstract rose. It's very aldehydic in the opening, but this is, you should give this a chance to bloom. For this rose to bloom on the skin, especially, all of the rose scents I will present to you today will have to be tested on the skin. This is a rule, because rose is most beautiful when it can bloom, when it can grow. Its growth is stunted on paper. It's an abstract rose. It's very minimalistic. It grows on the skin into this kind of honeyed rose, which is so beautiful. This is also a happy scent. It's comfortable. It's relaxing. There's absolutely nothing barbarian about this. I guess the name comes from the Ottoman rose that they used, which is a rich, full-bodied rose, and indeed it feels like the rose is being kept in check. It is being suffocated by the honey. This is a suffocated rose, and I cannot help but wonder what it would have been if this rose had been unleashed. Because as it is, this is quite mild, it's quite subdued. It's a nice scent, definitely, that in the dry down it gets a little dirty, it gets a little musky, but this is not a remarkable scent in my opinion. However, I find that it has an addictive quality. Whenever I wear it, I cannot help but smell my wrist, you know. It has a nice familiarity, which I have grown to love in the short time that I have owned this bottle. And it is also very easy to wear. It's unpretentious, it's cozy, and it's chic. So yeah, if you are able, do try Rose Barbare. However, I find that it is one of the weakest entries from the La Mattia collection, but not from Guerlain as a whole. Now, talking about Rose Barbare, I have to bring up another honeyed rose, which is Nahema. This came out in 1979, and it was done by Jean-Paul Guerlain. Nahema is indeed the queen of roses from Guerlain. It is the referential rose scent. This was inspired by Catherine Deneuve. Jean-Paul Guerlain was in awe with the beauty of this actress. The name of the fragrance is a beautiful legend, which comes from Arabian Nights. It was one of the stories that Scheherazade told in order to keep her head on her shoulders. It's the story of two sultans' daughters, two twin sisters. One was called Nahema and the other Mahane. And they were very much alike physically, but they were very different in structure. Mahane was gentle and caring, while Nahema was very fiery. She was the daughter of fire. She was passion incarnate. She was obstinate and ambitious. However, the story goes that Nahema did let her twin Mahane marry the prince and rule the land, and Nahema just left. She left to find her luck elsewhere, because she was of the world, which is quite progressive, I would say. Nahema, the fragrance is beautiful. It takes some time to get used to her. It has a chypre architecture like Mitsuko. It has the same fruity, gentle, milky peach, which is just to die for. Again, this is more fruity than rose, so the fragrance is quite complex. You simply must try this on the skin. This uses all the roses you can imagine, but especially Bulgarian rose. This was conceived for Bulgarian rose, and there's a story there about the iron cut in the 80s when Guerlain couldn't procure Bulgarian rose. If you wear this in the summertime, it's fruitier, it's lighter, but in the winter the rose just blooms. It's a big rose. In the cold it just it just expands, which is so beautiful. But just like Mitsuko, you have to understand it. You have to understand it in order to love it. But you know, that's natural. She's a princess. You can't just expect a princess to be easily understood. So yeah, a very beautiful scent, Nahema. I am very lucky to have this, I guess, 1 milliliter of Nahema Extrait. Actually, it's Nahema Parfum. In this ugly, these were one of the ugliest bottles that Guerlain had to offer. I don't remember their name. I guess it was the Bouchon bottles. I don't know. I don't remember. But the fragrance in Extrait form, which is now discontinued, is very beautiful. This was very rich. It's quite different. The rose is quite different from the EDP that we get today, and we don't even get this anymore today. We get the newer bottles, and which I haven't smelled yet. But the Extrait is just, it's different. It's even more full-bodied. It has some boozy elements to it. But again, it's very old, it's very chypre, very velvety, very woody, it's a big rose. And this was beautiful. Alas. On to the next fragrance. This is a very classic rose. It's Habit Rouge EDP. I chose the EDP because this is where you get the most rose. In the eau de parfum. It's a very it's on the classic side of things, just like Nahema, and just like Nahema, it gets a little time to get used to. But Habit Rouge is much easier to wear and to grow fond of. This is a very complex scent. It truly is the offspring of Shalimar, but this is on the lighter side. However, it does have the amber, the vanilla, and the leather. This is a woody, spicy rose, but this is a man's rose. It's quite delicate though, and it's sort of this is the reason. This is what the rose is, what gives the fragrance the impression of the color red, because this is what Habit Rouge means. It means red attire, the red jacket, riding jacket, whatever. This is a fresh scent. It's citrusy. It's sort of barbershop-y in the beginning, but the EDP is also a pleasure to wear in the winter time. It's so versatile, and in the cold it sometimes smells of Coca-Cola, which is funny. But yeah, it's the only Guerlain rose vanilla scent that I know of, and it's just great. Habit Rouge is definitely a must try, and you know, this is a classic for a reason. You have to try this and make up your mind for yourself. The next one is a very modern take on rose. This is Gourmand Coquin. Gourmand Coquin, actually, from Les Elixirs Charnel, which is now discontinued. The whole line is axed. Did I spray this? There was actually no need to spray this because the blotter was just full of it. The bottle is just so nice. I love these bottles from Les Elixirs Charnel. I think this is still available at the fountains, but I'm not sure. However, it's mostly gone, which is sad. But if you can get your hands on it, because I think you still can somehow, but for a decent price, it's really worth it. This is a chocolate scent. It's pure and simple. It's a chocolate rose scent which came out in 2008. It was done by Christine Nagel and Sylvain Delacour. This is a gorgeous gourmand that's just done right. I just how I love them. It's boozy, dark chocolate, very heavy on the cocoa. But the rose is just amazing in this. It's fresh rose. It's very green. You get the stems, the leaves, everything, just everything from the rose, and then just you trample it. You just mush it into chocolate, and this is the smell you get, and it's so good. It's unique. That's what it is. It's a unique scent. It's very much Guerlain. It's very much in their style, and I would simply love it if this fragrance made a comeback into their portfolio at some point, because this was very good. Now, another fragrance that's sadly being discontinued, and this is the last one. Yeah, it's the last one. This was Rose Nacree du Désert. Where are you? I have blotters prepared for each fragrance because I was working on this video in advance. So I was smelling them. I had like a rose party in here for the last couple of days, and this was so nice. And most of them I used in the last week as the scent of the day for me. For those who follow my Instagram, have seen my stories. So another fragrance, another big rose from the house of Guerlain, and this was, in my opinion, one of their best rose scents, and I'm not afraid to say that. Was Rose Nacree du Désert, such a beautiful name. But alas, this is now gone. It's gone forever. This is yet another patchouli rose with hints of dry saffron, which is just stunning. The saffron makes it spicy, but it also kind of makes the rose just pop. It gives it color, it gives it flavor. It's just so great. This is one of their greatest rose scents, and it still is. This is such a pleasure to wear. It's dry, it's also airy, but it's a full-bodied, it's luscious rose. But what's truly interesting in this is the way they use patchouli in order to make it fresh, minty, almost like it's a frozen rose. Nacree actually means pearly, and the rose petals feel like they've been frozen. It's like they reflect the light in a mother of pearl fashion, which is, yeah, it's beautiful. This is what it is. It was very complex, it was very rich, but alas, we all know that story. But yeah, it also is the fragrance that lasts forever on my skin, just like Gourmand Coquin. So yeah, I don't usually talk about the way they perform, but if you are curious, just leave me a comment and I will gladly just tell you. Most of them are good performers. There are no problems when it comes to performance, but when there will be, I will tell you. Another beautiful rose is Santal Royal. From Les Absolus d'Orient, I talked about them quite recently. This is something when people saw this fragrance named Santal Royal, people were expecting sandalwood and not a rose scent, but this is what you get. It's a rose scent, but it's also a creamy, beautiful, woody rose because the sandalwood and the woods in general come up into the way into the dry down. This is a dark rose. It's very jammy, very sweet and spicy. It's it's quite close to this sort of rose, this sort of essential oil, the way rose smells in essential oil form, which is interesting. It's the rose here is very good because it's balanced with jasmine and neroli, and this makes it it's just balanced. It's not difficult to wear, it's not cloying, it's not clammy in any way, so this is good, although it's a jammy rose. So yeah, it's never too much. When this dries down, and also the way the fragrance transforms on the skin, this is very complex, people. You should really try this. Give it time, like with any other rose scents. It just becomes woodier and creamier, and this just it's good. It's good. It's a fragrance I learned to love with time. The next one is another fragrance from the Absolutes of Orient collection. This is Musc Noble, another rose scent that's not named after a rose. It's about musk. And indeed, it is about musk. This is similar in composition to Santal Royal, but it's more about a dirty, musky rose. This would have been more aptly named Rose Barbare, not this one. Not this one, because there's nothing barbaric in any way about Rose Barbare. But this one, this is dirty, this is audacious, it's merciless. However, it's also very elegant. It's a very intoxicating and quite daring. This is, it's all about a dirty musk, which if you grow to love, then and you're lost. This quickly became one of my favorite things to wear in a period. I still wear it from time to time, but this is kind of a mood scent. You have to, because this is strong, this is not that well balanced as Santal Royal is. Santal Royal is much easier to wear. This is, you have to be in the mood for this, because you will smell of dirty rose for a long time. Which, hey, if that's your cup of tea, try it. Now, the last fragrance I almost forgot to add on this list is Rose Cherie. It's the latest addition into the new Latte La Matière line. This is a fragrance I did talk about. Let me try you again. It's been some time, maybe I perceive it differently. I'm also quite curious. Oh yeah, this is I do stand by what I said earlier. This is indeed a remake of French Kiss. They're very much alike, and then again they are quite different in some key points, so it's not the same fragrance, but they're also very much alike. French Kiss was beautiful, if you still can find it. This was a beautiful raspberry rose, very light, very clear, very see-through. This is much more it's murkier, it's muskier, it's a bit more mature if you want, but it's also, there's much more tonka in this. It's very much more in line with what's it called, La Petite Robe Noire, you know, that sort of fragrance. But anyway, the Rose Cherie still has a beautiful note of raspberry, which does manage to balance the whole composition very well. It's also tart. It's a happy scent. It's very joyful, and it becomes more powdery as you wear it. This also has powdery violet, which gets across a gentle note of leather, which is good. It's like it kind of smells like the inside of a purse, which is nice. What is different about this from French Kiss is that Rose Cherie is much more long lasting. It's much longer lasting. It lasts for ages, and it's also very loud. It's very projecting, and I think this is their most successful launch to date. So if you were a fan of French Kiss, do try this Rose Cherie. You might like it, you might dislike it. There are differences between the two, but what can you do? If you don't have an old bottle of French Kiss, maybe you can find it. So yeah, this was my guide to the Guerlain Rose. I hope you found it useful. This is every rose scent that Guerlain has to date in their current portfolio, and then some. It's not the only rose scent that they have. As I said, the rose is a part of the Guerlain. There's also many flankers to popular scents such as Mont Guerlain, Bloom of Rose, which I wouldn't want to add to this list because it's not, it's not a rose scent. It's just rosy hints. So yeah, if you have any questions about this list, about any of the fragrances, do let me know in the comments. I will be very glad to answer them. And until next time, remember, fragrance creates memories, and may yours be happy.